Hello, this is Jeffrey Fox again, and we're at lesson 3 in the Big Data Applications and Analytics course in the Health and Medical Informatics section. And here I am, the instructor. So lesson 3 is all about, it's a very short lesson, and it has a few remarks about telemedicine. And this actually has been, it's been studied and used for a very long time because it was trumpeted as a very important, well, at least 20 years ago, and probably more than that. But it didn't quite take off. But now there's some reason to believe it ought to take off because telling a lot of other things is taking off. Namely, we do an awful lot of things with virtual technologies, which we didn't do in the past. So this is our first real slide, and it points out that there's a significant use of email. I mean, here's the United States at 38%, Germany at 70%, and other countries in between. Obviously, for some reason, it's interesting. Europe is higher than the other places, and actually, Germany is higher than, say, Spain or United Kingdom. I must admit, I've not emailed with my physician, and I'm not quite certain whether what that determines. But you would think it actually would be better to have more email and other types of communication between patients and physicians. So it'd be good if we can increase this number. Here is a sort of comment on wearables. So the claim is 21% of the American adults already own a wearable device in 2014. So what does that predict, say, for 2016? Well, it's suggesting it predicts 40% because 20% of Americans own tablets in 2012, and now 40% own. So possibly that, it seems plausible to me that the wearable use will increase significantly. So that's an interesting statistic. Here is video consults. So this is, again, something I have no experience with, but it's sort of at the heart of telemedicine is video linkages between patients and medical carers. And here's the projection, 5.7 million. Well, now in last year, this is being recorded in early 2015, and the expectation is that's going to grow a factor of 20 or more to 130 million video consults in 2018. So that's quite big numbers here. Although again, it's not something you hear about. At least I don't hear about this. It's sort of interesting. I mean, the reason to do telemedicine is relatively clear. That it's certainly clear in rural or remote areas where the density of patient, where the number of doctors per unit, doctors are spread around because there's just not so many patients. So the distance between patient and doctors is quite high. In high density cities, it's not so clear, but it still could actually have valuable there because maybe it's not good to walk around in cities. Who knows? So this just reminds me of the past. In 1994, telemedicine was going to be the future of the world. Actually, there was a huge healthcare initiative from the Clinton administration at that time with Hillary Clinton as a leader of that. And we had a big project to investigate healthcare using telemedicine as the key technology. And here was a presentation I gave to Hillary Clinton with others in 1994. I looked different in those days. I always had sideburns and I had big ties and things. So those are, I wish so. I need to recall those days. That's bad. They've disappeared. Don't like it. Anyway, here is Hillary, and actually Daniel Moynihan, who is I think now deceased, who was the senator, a Democratic senator from New York at the time. And here is Dr. Smith from the local medical school describing how he was interacting by telemedicine with remote rural patients. And so this picture here was on telemed explained how upstate New York. Here we have poor old Oxenberg sitting in the Adirondacks, and it was and here we are. We were in Syracuse, and all this area is extremely low population. Well, Albany, let's draw it differently. And so we thought that telemedicine would be very attractive. And we did a lot of effort to develop that, but it all got wrapped up in politics and nothing happened with that particular initiative. And I forgot about telemedicine. I made various contacts and continue to work in that area with a colleague, David Warner, and for the next 6 years till around 2000. But we never. He did very well. I didn't make any progress. In general, we also did various web-based healthcare systems at the same time, which didn't amount to much from a cosmic point of view. But this whole area of telemedicine, I actually sort of was intrigued to find this in recent talks because it still doesn't get a lot of press, and yet it's naively very important. So, and they say it ought to be more important because when you look at what is telemedicine, well, here we have these people in Oxenberg, and here we have the doctors in the metropolis like Syracuse, and we have links between them, and those links can be video links for actually talking to each other, and you can have the doctor talking to local health practitioners with lower experience and skill levels. But also we can have sensors. We can have our patient docked up with all sorts of sensors which are piling data back and forth. And so, the sensors are going from here to here. There's the doctor can then evaluate everything here and make important decisions. So the telemedicine is video plus sensors, which are often be wearable sensors today. And those linkage together to do healthcare is a critical, interesting area for the more rural, especially for the more rural communities, where it is not so reasonable to come to local facilities. So it'll be good to watch for that. I'm actually now think that we might see more of that because the argument is much stronger today because the technology is so much better. One reason it didn't happen back in 1994, the same reason various other things like VRML didn't happen, was the network was lousy. So let's see what happens. So that's the end of this short section, which is just sort of highlights my excitement at seeing telemedicine reappearing on the agenda. Thank you very much.